Hey guys, what's up? This is Doug. This is our weekly MIpet business vlog. This is 2018. This is the first video of 2018, and I wanted to start the year off with maybe more of a focused direction with the video. I want to do kind of an area where I talk about like what's good, like what's going well, maybe something that is some room for improvement, some things I'm not doing well, maybe something that isn't going well, or whatever it might be. And then I want to talk about kind of the, hey, this is an idea, it's a question, and I thought, or a thing that is maybe not a good bad, or something it's a little indifferent, or I don't know, whatever. We'll get into it. So the first thing I want to talk about is the good, and the good is that we just did another round of donations to the charities, or the rescues that are in our rescue roster, which if you don't know, every month we have a group of 5 rescues that we will cycle out over time. So we have 5 currently, and then we will have one that will go away next month, and we will bring a new rescue in. And then basically, if you're that new rescue, you're kind of at the lower tier, and every month you move up a little bit until you're basically at the top, and then you would get kind of removed. So you get about a month of opportunity to have people support you. And as that is the case, different rescues get different amount of support. This past month we had about 2 out of the 5, we had one that was a little kind of abandoned or not utilized, or it was only 1 or 2 donations came to those guys, while we had a large number for a couple other ones. It's relatively well balanced, which is what my intention is. So if there's any room for improvement from a rescue roster standpoint, is that maybe the sales are a little more equally balanced between the rescues. However, I want you as the customer to have your opinion as to where you would like your donation to go to. So we're not going to change that, but in theory it would be cool that we had sort of a little bit more of a balanced sort of donation. However, we did donate a lot larger sum of money this time around, which felt really good. I don't think as a business, in theory, to say like, oh man, it felt awesome giving away a large chunk of your money is a good thing from a business standpoint. But once again, our business is part of like a massive element of why this business exists is because of the charitable element. So in theory, if I started and said, hey, I have this sum of money and I'm going to give some of it away and I'm a business, doesn't sound that great. But because of who we are and what we're trying to accomplish, it's actually a really great feeling. And that is why it's in the good category of this week's video, because in another reality, I'll kind of go to the bad, and it's that it's January. So what do you do in January? I mean, not a whole lot, and that goes for retail, especially kind of the attitude of spending money in January gets kind of taken away. Like in December, it's everything, right? Everyone's looking at the next gift to get their loved one or whatever, and that goes to your, like your fur babies too. So January hits and your attention maybe goes from shopping to, hey, let's look at the gym a little bit, or let's get my year off right because I'm going to really get my job going, or I'm going to get a new career, or it's a new me, it's all that. But you don't really have a lot of like, hey, you know what I didn't do a lot of the last couple months? It's spend money, so I'm gonna go do that now. So as you could assume, January hits and there's not really a great, we're not, if we were doing this in December, we're definitely not continuing, into January, but that's okay, it's expected. But it is a thing, so I figured I would talk about it. And being that sort of the good is the donation element, the bad maybe is, it being January and the sales are going to slag a little bit. What is sort of the other thing I can talk about this week? And to me, it's probably more important than the first thing and the other thing, the good and the bad, is that this is a month that reminds you of why you are doing this. Like, why are you doing the business you're doing? You will question that when you have a month that is going kind of like how this month is going, and probably will continue to go for a little bit, is that you start questioning everything, right? Did I Did I think my product was as good as it is? Is there something I could do better? Did I make a mistake? And what I'm saying here, I'm not saying we're not doing things that are good, and I'm not looking at the big picture and saying, wow, that's better than I thought. It's like you're a really good designer, and you were working a ton, and everyone wanted you, and then everyone went and did the thing that you just did their design for. So let's say January was the month of all the work you did now gets shown off into the world, right? And even though you're amazing and you did all that work, no one's calling you to do more of it. And it's not because you suck, it's because it's now out there doing its thing, and it can be misleading if you don't look at it in the right terms. So, and the reason I brought that example up is because I am a designer, and usually the beginning of the year, some of the things you may do at the end of the year that get you busy for the end of the year aren't being executed. For example, I live in the Detroit area. The beginning of the year is the Detroit Auto Show, which is one of the biggest auto shows in the world. And a lot of the work I would do would be for that. And guess what? You do the work and then the event has to happen. Well, the event's a pretty long event. And so for a good chunk of time, there's this lull. And you kind of take it personally sometimes. You're like, why, I was so busy for months. Why am I kind of slow now? And it can be tough, and in business, I'd argue I'm going through the same thing. You start thinking about, I've mentioned this before in other vlogs, but I'm going to be a dad soon. So another element of why I started this business, like I said, it's because I wanted to fulfill a charitable element, the idea of volunteering is great, but with my time being limited, how can I still make a difference and help, but also have it do other things, which is, give me another opportunity to make some money. And it's a long process. I'm not expecting MIpet to be anything but what it is currently, but in time I'd like it to be here, and then in 3 years I'd like it to be here, and then in 5 years I'd like it to be, you get the idea. You wanted to grow it and grow it the right way, which I think we're doing. But just like anything else, the results kind of keep you going. When it comes to your job, maybe what you do for a living, everyone has a job, or everyone has something they're doing to make money. Not everything you do has a passion behind it, but you still get a paycheck, let's say, right? In a case of like MIpet or a business you're gonna start, the passion and the why you're starting it is the foundation, because you may not be getting the paycheck, you may not be getting the reward of a sale in that sense, or whatever it might be. So it's that reminder, and keep resting on the reasons of why you started the company, because you will have nights where you go, did I do something wrong? Am I doing something wrong? Did I have the wrong impression or idea of what it is? Instead of the reality of the situation, which is it's a bad time of year for retail, and you did have a great December, and it was really good, but you're gonna hit ups and downs. Ebbs and flows are gonna happen, and we're right in the middle of one right now. So I can't lie and say that I haven't had nights where I'm like, man, did I miss something? Just as I say that, we'll go and get a couple of sales, and I completely forget that I thought that. It's just that perseverance to continue doing the work. Essentially, it's like this. You want to lose 10 pounds, right? But you look at the work that it takes to get to that 10 pounds, and you're over here and you got to get here. And let's say you've done it before, you've lost 10 pounds. It doesn't happen overnight. Well, the problem is because you can visualize it and you see it happening, you almost want it to happen like this. And the problem is that nothing ever happens that way. And if you think about what it is to get here, but you're still here, it's nearly impossible to do it. And what I mean by that is you wake up tomorrow and you do the things that'll get you to that 10-pound weight loss, right? You do the things that'll get you to that next phase in business. The more exposure, the bigger sales, whatever it might be. But you just got to keep doing the same thing. So as much as it's easy to say like, hey, it's we're in a lull and it's a little bit difficult, in that same breath, I know that I still have to do the same exact things I would do if we were doing great in the moment, because here's the truth. Those are the things that are going to get you over the top, right? If I know that engaging on Instagram and talking with people and just doing, simple things, like if I said, okay, tomorrow I'll post a handful of times and I'll try to engage with a handful of people, and I will try to look for, followers that are actively in the universe that is they might be in the business for MIpet. What is that? You know, for me, it's, are you from Michigan, or are you familiar with Michigan in terms of like, do you have a connection with the state, and do you have an animal? Do you have a pet? And if you do, I want to follow you guys, right? I want to engage with you. So if I'm doing those things every day, that in January, in July, in June, in August, in December of next year, all that work will have kind of led to something. And so I just urge anyone who's out there who may be watching this, and I'd like to think it's going to be in the future, not now, because the truth is I'm no one yet. But they see something like this and say, wow, like if that's where they're at now, you know, looking into the future, he went through that back then, and I'm going through that now. Like it's totally viable as an emotion. But all I'd argue is that you just gotta, you know, remember why you're doing it, and just do the small things consistently. And I believe that that will equal things. Here's the thing. I'm talking to you as a business owner who's learning this stuff as I go. I don't know these answers, but what I can tell you is that I have lost 10 pounds in the past, right? I have been a designer working for myself for 10 plus years already. And I know that that works in those instances. And I know that this is a very similar context, right? It's kind of actions and consistency will equal results. And it will. And I'm saying this not knowing that that is true for what we are doing here with MIpet, but I know that we've sold enough to make me feel that way. And I feel like we're getting enough feedback and response in the big picture that it is absolutely on the path it needs to be. And that is what I'm going to continue doing. So that's the thing I'm kind of balancing right now. In the first week of, I say first week, we're into the second week of January, is that is the lesson I'm trying to remind myself, is to, you know, keep my head down, work, do the small things, and that will translate when things are bigger, brighter. You know, the opportunity is out there more. And on a side note to kind of that conversation, this time of year lends opportunity as well. And so not only has it led to me thinking about different places to interact with to possibly sell, you know, MIpet tags, which is done. It's also opened me up to things I may have already been doing in other capacities. Like I've been making t-shirts since I was 18 years old. And I've always thought of MIpet as a pet tag company, and it is a pet tag company. However, why couldn't we do some other things, like make some t-shirts or things that, you know, it's about building sort of an ecosystem, you know? And I think like doing something I'm already familiar with and bringing it into like the MIpet idea, as long as it's not deterring the day-to-day and the actions of what MIpet is and what's trying to be, and if it's just a nice extra, I'm all ears and I'm willing to do it. So as a kind of a side part to this whole conversation, it as much as it can be a negative and it can be about overcoming and about, you know, reminding yourself why you're doing it, it can also open up the opportunities. Because let's be honest, when you're super busy with anything, you rarely have time to think about what else can I do. This is a great time to do that. So hopefully, you know, that makes sense. I'm excited, you know, to continue doing what we're doing and learn as I go. You know, the future is bright. So for the first/second week of January, my name is Doug Zuba. I own MIpet, MIpet.com. Check us out. We're on Instagram, MIpet Company. And we'll talk to you next week. Until then, see you later. Have a good one.